Today I am going to be reviewing Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. This film is surrounded by a lot of controversy, and the Star Wars fanbase is divided. I want to share my thoughts on the film, and if you would like to share yours too, leave a comment down below. Also, be warned, this review will contain major spoilers for Star Wars The Last Jedi. The film opens up with a chase sequence involving the Rebels and the First Order. This sequence carries on throughout the entire film, and honestly, I had a good time with it. Although there is not much action, there is a major conflict between Poe Dameron and the new character, Admiral Holdo. I absolutely love the scene with Poe calling her a traitor, as it finally let Oscar Isaac show off his acting abilities in a Star Wars movie. It was awesome. However, it's kind of a big plot hole that the whole plot wouldn't have existed if Holdo had just told Poe what the plan was, rather than being awkward because she doesn't like him. That felt kind of childish and pointless. We also get to continue our story with Luke and Rey. It continues right from when the last film left off, with Rey holding out Luke's lightsaber to him. I was completely surprised when Luke took the lightsaber, then threw it over his head, and I loved it. People seem to be complaining a lot about how Luke was handled, saying things like, "He's not the Luke I remember." Just look at it this way. It has been 30 years since we last saw this guy on screen. Since then, he tried to build a new Jedi Order, then failed by attempting to murder his own nephew, and now bears the guilt of turning Leia and Han's son to the dark side. Of course he's changed. In fact, Luke is just a grumpy old man until he enters the Falcon and sees an old friend. When he shouts R2, you can really hear the emotion in his voice, and it is Luke Skywalker there, not some old moody hermit. There are still remnants of the old Luke, but they are hidden behind years of pain and guilt. It's a great decision for the character, and I loved every bit of it. Now, let's talk about the connection between Kylo Ren and Rey in this film. A lot of people are complaining about the ability they share, which allows them to speak to and see each other. We haven't seen that before, so it can't be canon. False. This could be an ability which only Snoke holds, or maybe it's just something that has been forgotten by the Jedi generations ago. Snoke is ancient, so bridging two people's minds together is probably something he learnt hundreds of years before the events of The Last Jedi. Personally, I really enjoyed it. The whole world isn't all black and white. Just because they are on opposite sides doesn't mean Kylo and Rey cannot relate whatsoever. They are both young and both learning, and they obviously have some kind of connection in the Force, as their bridge continues even after Snoke has died. Talking about Snoke dying, let's discuss the throne room scene. Amazing. This is probably my favourite thing about this movie. I wouldn't change a single bit of it. The whole concept of Snoke reading Kylo's mind, predicting his every move, and his words, "You are twisting the lightsaber to kill your true enemy," and then he is cut in half. In that moment I heard millions of cries from the theorists around the world. But I wanted him to be Darth Plagueis. I hate the fact that everyone needs to be connected in Star Wars, and this is just a huge middle finger to the theorists, which I love. Snoke is just some guy who is really powerful with the Force. After that, Snoke's guards freak out and a battle ensues with Rey and Kylo fighting alongside each other. At first, I thought Kylo was turning to the light, which would have been very strange. Fortunately, he does not. Anyway, the fight scene is choreographed beautifully, and the final kill when Rey chucks Kylo's lightsaber to him, and he stabs the guy choking him was great. A very good sequence, probably one of the best scenes we have seen in a Star Wars movie. The question is, what next? Well, Kylo wants Rey to join him. He is following the Sith rule of two. Only two Sith can exist alongside each other, hence why if Luke had turned to the dark side, Vader was willing to kill the Emperor. Rey refuses, and then they break Luke and Anakin's lightsaber in a forced tug of war. This feels almost like a metaphor, just saying, this isn't about the Skywalkers anymore. It's a new story. I dig it. Then Hux comes in later and Kylo goes full badass and chokes him just like Darth Vader, which was a really nice callback. At first I was really worried about Kylo destroying his mask. I thought he would just be some whiny kid similar to Anakin from the prequels. But after this throne room sequence, he just went badass and I thought that was great. Now let's discuss the planet Crate. I am not going to call it the Battle of Crate because it was not a battle. There were 12-ish ski speeders and that was all the Resistance had to offer. This isn't a complaint, I just don't believe it was a battle as the Resistance were only on their last legs. It was more like the defense of Crate. Anyway, I love the bit when Luke comes out of the gate and faces down against Kylo. Kylo orders his men to fire on Luke, but Luke still emerges without a single part of his body damaged. I love the flick of his shoulder, that was hilarious. The look on Kylo's face was brilliant, especially afterwards when he realised Luke was nothing more than a force projection. Adam Driver gave a great performance in this film. In fact, everyone did. Now, I've seen a lot of hate surrounding Luke's projection scene. People have asked why this ability has never been used before, and to that I say, did you watch the film? Because immediately after, Luke passes away. I am purely guessing that it was because of this action, as it seemed to be hard work for him. I think Luke passing away was brilliant, as he stared out to the twin suns, referencing the infamous scene from A New Hope. beautiful. Also, I completely forgot to mention the Yoda theme. That was great, his dialogue was awesome as always, but his abilities also open up a lot of questions about Force Ghosts that I can't wait to discuss in the future. It seems that Force Ghosts have the ability to physically interact with their surroundings. It will definitely make for a very interesting topic. Now that I've praised this film a lot, let's talk about the stuff I did not like. Firstly, the Finn and Rose arc is pointless. If Holdo had told Poe the plan, they wouldn't have to go looking for this codebreaker on this planet that is very reminiscent of the prequels. This whole portion of the film takes up a good half an hour, but it feels like it shouldn't even exist. I understand that Finn has to be used, and I really do love that character, but I feel like he would have been more effective following Poe and his story. Rose seems like a decent character, but she is nothing special, and the kiss at the end feels very forced. Even once they got their codebreaker, or a codebreaker, they got caught by the First Order, so it was pointless anyway. I was also very excited for the fight between Finn and Phasma, as it was hyped up a lot in the TV spots. However, it lasts for about 2 minutes, and then Phasma is killed off. It felt like Phasma was coming back in The Last Jedi for redemption, but instead she was just used as a plot device that doesn't actually benefit the plot, if that makes sense. I have just finished the Captain Phasma comic, and it definitely shines a better light on the character, showing how badass she can actually be. It's a shame this doesn't show on screen, and if the excuse was there was too much in the film, then use her for episode 9. It just doesn't make sense for me. Something else I disliked was Leia's Mary Poppins scene, where she drags herself back to her ship. It felt really goofy and completely took me out of the film. However, it's a new ability that I'm happy to welcome. It just felt like it would have been a good death for a character, and the opportunity was wasted. Also, the comedy in this film felt completely unnecessary. The film is trying to have a very dark tone, but at the same time there is this 2017 humour that ruins the emotions of some scenes. It's a big shame. It feels like the film is having an identity crisis. It doesn't really know what tone to go for. So that concludes my thoughts on The Last Jedi. Overall, I loved it, and it was a really unique experience for a Star Wars film. I will give it a 7 out of 10. Now here is where I rank it compared to the rest of the Star Wars films. I hope you all enjoyed, subscribe for more Star Wars stuff, and goodbye.